So let me tell you about the 6 rules, how there might be more, but these are my 6 rules, how crowdsourcing can be a success for you as a company, whether you're in IT or in anything, and with a few examples. So rule number 1, if you're thinking in entering crowdsourcing, is the crowd can only eat in single bites. Well, what does that mean? It means if you want to ask the crowd to build you an aircraft carrier, well, that's not going to work. Because we're talking about individuals, about small companies who are there to be incentivized to fund you, solve a problem or whatever. So whatever you need to do, you need to put the problem into smaller modules and then put it out. And this is a great example of a competition called Foldit. Foldit is a game. And what they've done is they took a problem, which is the Mason-Pfizer virus, which is an HIV-related virus. And for 15 years, the world's best scientists, professors at Harvard, MIT, and everybody, they couldn't solve how that enzyme that causes this virus is actually folded. Because the way it is folded causes it in your body to have a certain function. So what they've done is they simplified it a little bit. They made it a game, because humans are actually better in anticipating shape than a computer is. So you have this kind of DNA string, and you try to put it together in different shapes. So they made a game out of it. And this folded game was amazingly successful because it took the solver 15 days to solve a problem that it took academia and the world's best scientists 15 years to not solve it. And my favorite part about this one, it shows again this idea of you need to make a problem small enough in order to get the brain power of the world. One of the winners, one of the runner-ups, was a teacher in Long Island, and she had said she has no clue about biology, she doesn't know anything about chemistry, but she just liked the colors and how this is looking. And so she just applied her normal brain like you and I to a very deep problem that the best scientists couldn't solve, but it was about folding something, and that was actually solved this way through the accumulative powers of our brains. The other rule is if you do crowdsourcing and open innovation, you can do it in small steps, but you need to do it open. And this story is about a gold mine in Canada. And this guy had a mine, and but the problem was he couldn't find his gold reserves. And he's been digging and digging and digging, and he couldn't find it. And he was basically going bankrupt with his gold mine company. And so he tried to, remember that long tail. So he tried first his staff, and then he went to the best consultants in the world and said, hey, can you come in and come to my vault, and I give you all my geological data, and then by the way, sign an NDA first, and then you look at my data, and then you tell me where should I drill, and where should I look. So he did this a few times, still didn't find the gold. So that eventually, at this brink of bankruptcy, he made this mental leap, and which is coming to this fully open. He said, well, you know what? I don't have a choice anymore anyways. Why don't I just publish all the data I have? So basically what I thought was the most precious part about my company, I'm just going to say, look, here world, here this. Here's all my data. And whoever can tell me where my gold is gets $500,000. It got a bit higher in the end because he paid a second price as well. But that was his bet. So he said, okay, I'm going to be fully open. Here's what I have. Hey world, tell me if you can find my gold. And there were 2 guys in Australia, so this is in Canada, and there were 2 guys in Australia who had nothing to do with mining. They were 3D developers, software developers. And they just took that data and made a 3D set out of it. They just built not a game, but they made a software on all this data. They had no idea about geological, explorations, and they put that in and said, okay, this is where your gold is. And actually they pointed to a few, 3 or 4 locations. And he said, okay, well, hold on, let me try first. I'm not paying you just on the promise. And he digged, and he found gold worth $6 billion. So his return on investment is about 1,000,000%. And again, the lesson here is oftentimes companies, whatever your goal is, it might be data, It might be customer data. It might be whatever it is. It's often, by keeping it a secret, especially in the IT world, you're probably minimizing the value that you actually could get if you do something with that data. I know a lot of companies who are saying, we'd rather do nothing with it than, actually exploring what we could do because of the risk of something, which I will come to in a second. But the lesson of this thing, well, there is this huge advantage of, taking the most precious part, make it fully open, and see what the world can do with it. And so this is a very IT example, which I think that might be very relevant to you guys, is the Netflix prize. This is about a company who is selling and streaming videos via the internet. Videos like in films, movies, TV shows. And what they've done is, one of the value add that they are giving to a customer is they're matching movies with your taste. So they learn about you, and they say, okay, because Simon likes Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, perhaps we should recommend the new Bruce Willis movie to him. And I might say, yeah, that's a great choice. But that algorithm of matching, the better it is, the more money they generate, because the more people actually are buying. So they wanted to improve that IT algorithm by a certain percentage. And they had a choice. They were thinking, well, of course, we could go to our software development team and have them keep working on that software algorithm to improve it by 10%. Or we go to the world and say, hey, here's our algorithm. If you can beat it by 10%, we give you $1 million. Which is brilliant, because you know that this would cost you probably $3 million if you do it in-house. And so that's what they did. And the rule is, define your ROI from the start. It means think from the beginning about that math. So how much would it cost me to increase my algorithm with my internal team? So you might come up with a number. Let's say it was $2 million. I don't know that number. And then you say, well, okay, in that case, why don't we put out $1 million as a prize if we get it to 10% improvement? So basically, you already know that this is a better deal this way. And if the crowd is improving it by 9%, well, even better, then you can keep the money, and you still have an algorithm that's 9% better than what you have today. And so this was very successful. It took them a bit, not like days. It took them, I think, a year or two. But eventually, there were 3 different users, and some people got milestone prizes because they got over like 5%, but not 10. And then Netflix said, well, why don't we give you $50K, but then you release to the other ones what you've done, and the guy said yes. And eventually 3 kind of individual users formed together as a team and beat the algorithm. One of the downsides that came, and this will lead into my next rule, it was so successful that Netflix said, great, let's do this again. But by that time, it was so successful, so this is now 2009, I think, in the end. And this, I think 2006 was the first one, so it's 3 years later, that a lot of academia and researchers looked into this. And one of them was able to take that dummy data set that Netflix put out, which was anonymous, and was able to correlate this with a lot of other data sets, and was actually able to say who the users were. So again, we're not talking about, health data or your private bank accounts, but it was definitely a shocker for the industry of, perhaps we should also be open, but a bit paranoid. Which leads me to my next rule. Protect yourself by hiding some of these parts. So this is again coming back from the Netflix prize, which by the way, we didn't do that one. But you need to be careful. And it's not just about the data sets right now that you're releasing, but also you don't know yet what could be other data sets that could be released by someone else in 2 years' time, that in combination are, revealing who your users are. And so that's a very tricky part, which of course, people like us and there are others who, can advise you on. So, but one thing that if you're clever, and a few people are very clever, that you can do is, you do something that is DARPA that has done with their Red Balloon Challenge. And so DARPA is a defense agency of the United States, and they ran what was called the Red Balloon Challenge. And so this defense agency, very strange, right? They said, the person who first finds the exact geospatial location of 10 red balloons on a certain date, I think it was the 9th of September 2010, gets $40,000. Well, that's odd. Like, why would the Defense Ministry care about the location of 10 or 9 red balloons? Well, we don't know, and it's not the point. The point is they use something, 10 red balloons, that is not, we're not talking about data, we're not talking about something that is secret. They use these 9 balloons as camouflage as something they actually cared about. And they wanted to find a solution to a problem they had, but instead of taking that data out, they gave you something else. And they still got the same results. So in this case, the way this was solved, by the way, was brilliant. Because of course, again, a competition would say, a crowdsourcing competition, it's not about how to do it, it's, we want this, how you do it, we don't care, you tell us. So in this case, a very smart student at MIT basically built a huge network, like a Ponzi scheme, where he said, okay, there's a $40,000 on the top, I recruit friends of friends of friends of friends of friends, and the way it works is that if Sally in San Francisco finds this red balloon, she would take a picture, put out the exact location of where this balloon is, send it through the chain back to the MIT students, who then is aggregating through his social network all the locations and pays the person who finds it some money and all the people who recommended her to join that network as well. So we're talking about, perhaps $100 and $50 and $20 and so on. Not huge money, but the amazing thing about this was solved within a few hours. No other one could beat it. This was solved through a very low-tech, we're not talking about anybody with a satellite trying to do this. This is a low-tech social network solution to a problem that the United States Defense Department had. But the point that I really want to highlight is, whatever you do, whether you're a health department in the United Kingdom or HSBC, there might be data sets out there in the public domain that are not exactly your problem, but you might use them instead of yours. So there might be weather data. There is data about the traffic system. So what people like us can help you, or your clients, is what data sets can you release, or what are the data sets that are already out there that can camouflage your problem and make sure the crowd can help you without endangering, again, putting 20,000 health data out there of your patients, which you can't. A very obvious rule is, if you want to crowdsource anything, you need to make sure the world knows about it. Which is very obvious, but believe me, this is one that a lot of people get wrong, because you're a big company and you're building this great program, and then you wait, and no one comes, and no one wants to play with you. And so there's a few rules that obviously help you. I mean, the bigger the prize money, the world takes attention. Active marketing and social media marketing can help. Partnership with the universities and media can help you to make a bigger splash. Endorsements of celebrities, so President Obama definitely helped to get into the news as well. But as we said just before about the DARPA project, an outstanding concept, something that's novel, makes a difference. And of course, platforms like Innocentive. But my example here is actually a very, I'm highlighting this outstanding concept part. So we ran a prize about half a year ago called the Triple M Prize, the Mom's Medical Mystery. And it's a very touching story about a guy called Simon, but it's not me, whose wife developed some nightly seizures, so really, really horrible headaches overnight after the delivery of her third child. And so this guy in America went to every doctor, tried to see if they can help him. And at the end, they couldn't diagnose what the problem was, and he came to us and said, guys, can you help me to crowdsource that problem? And I don't have any money, though. I cannot, I'm a private person. I cannot put $100,000 on this. So we said, okay, well, we can give you a challenge for free, and do you have and put some money on it. He said, okay, I have $500. So all right, let's give it a try and see what happens. And he got 1,500 people around the world who were giving him ideas about this data set he released and trying to solve that problem. And it just showed us, again, this power of the crowd, which is ask for help and make it a concept that is, in this case, obviously very touching. You get the world to help you. And now my final rule is also about something that we actually did here in Singapore as well. It's the Global Security Challenge, and this is the most obvious rule. but also something that you need to keep in mind, whatever you do in this crowdsourcing, crowdfunding world, is make sure that you're asking less of the crowd to give you, of what you want to give them. It sounds very logical, and it is, but it's something that you need to kind of calculate and balance out. So in this case, and we didn't ask the crowd to build anything new. We were giving out $500,000 for this competition, and we hosted it in Singapore, in Washington, and in London. But we didn't ask these innovators, we asked them only to come to this event, to fly. We didn't ask them to build a new technology, which could go into the thousands and hundreds of thousands. So we just said, the only investment you need to do is bring the best IT technology or security technology you have and fly to Singapore if you're in Asia, or fly to London if you're in Europe, or the United States. And so that $500,000 made sense from an innovator's point of view, because they were thinking, oh, okay, that my investment is 10K, 5K, whatever. But sometimes there are crowdsourcing initiatives out there where that balance is wrong. So it might be that if I give $5,000 as a prize to you, but I require you to invest in hardware, software, in 20 hours of time, then that PhD guy might think, wait a minute, so if I add this up, actually, even if I win, I'm making a loss of 3,000. So that is something that, again, you need to think of from the beginning, is make sure that that incentive is higher than what you're giving them. And that's it. I hope that was useful. I know that we ran through the crowdsourcing world in half an hour. But again, my summary would be to all of you is this crowd revolution is happening right now. I know that from all the discussions I have, especially in the United States and in Europe, I don't know that much about Asia, that's why I'm here, the CEOs of big companies are in their boardrooms debating this. They're thinking of how can we access that power of the crowd in our own big organizations? How can we access our customers' brains? How can we go to the world to help us innovate, to do better anything? So that, I think, is something that is coming. I'm absolutely convinced that this crowd power is something that is not something you can reverse. It is irreversible. It's coming in to stay. So I think for all of you is to think of, okay, I'll give you a few examples. They might not be relevant as a topic to what you all do in your day-to-day job, but think about what you do, and then what could you do to empower your company to open up. And then if you have any questions about it, I'm happy to help. I don't know if you can see it, but it's my last name at innocentive.com. I'm on the usual LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all of these things. So my offer to you is, ask me for help. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to debate. I'm happy to discuss. I'm happy to brainstorm. And anything that is somehow dangerous or interesting, I'm definitely interested to help. And that's it. Thank you very much.